Hi, good afternoon. My name is Kelly. I'm one of the educators with Bywater Solutions, and I'm joined today by Donna, another educator. We are going to have a webinar to talk about the new enhancements and features with the technical services module. I do see that somebody's having problems getting in on the phone. Donna, can you confirm that's the right ID number for her? Okay, perfect. Make sure everybody can get in. So today's webinar, we're going to talk about the 1805 upgrade for the technical services crew. So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming. I am recording this, so if anybody is not able to attend, we will have that recorded session on the website by the end of the week, if not sooner. Okay, let's see. Let's pop over here. Okay. I want to make sure we can get the caller in. So I apologize. Okay. I am sharing my screen. Let me make it all the way bigger for you. And this is our new website. If you haven't been able to pop over to the Bywater Solutions website, we have a new website with new staff pictures, and it's pretty cool. We do have an education choice right in the center. This education option will allow you to search a keyword term, or you could go ahead and search by category. We are putting any upgrade information under this Koha upgrades choice. So the webinar schedule that Melissa sent out would be under Koha upgrades. The upgrade notes and then the Q&A from upgrade webinars would be all under this Koha upgrade. If you're looking for maybe a blog post on a specific subject or system preference, you can certainly search for this Koha how-to, or go ahead and do that keyword search. Here, I'm going to show you just this 1805 upgrade note page, which we like to show off so you have a place to find all the information about the new 1805 upgrade. There is the Koha community release notes available, the new manual that we all know will be bookmarking to our desktop, and then that new schema that we have. We also will be putting blog posts and videos on the larger features or the enhancements we feel as though need a little bit of more steps involved, so that we'd like to refer partners to if necessary. You can see here we've already started adding our recorded webinar sessions. So you can go ahead and click here, and this will bring you to your the Bywater YouTube channel that you could watch our webinars. We've also been collecting your questions from the last 3 and the rest of the webinars. We will collect those questions, and even if we were able to answer them live, and maybe not necessarily live, we had to do some research, we like to put this in a good place so you can refer back to. For instance, when I click over to the questions and answers, there were a couple bugs that were created since our upgrade webinars that I've been able to update. We also had a partner that wanted to share a report that she had created to go along with that merging patrons feature. So you can see here is that report. So it's just a great place to find information that we talked about during that those webinars. So let me see. I know Donna is working on that meeting ID, so hopefully she can get in. Thank you, Donna, very much. Okay. So again, I wanted to refer you back to our new website just to let you know that we do have a new website. It's pretty sleek, and I really like it. And on the main page, if you scroll down to the bottom, you can get to our Koha demo. This demo site is on the 1805 version. So if I show you something that's really cool and you want to try it out yourself, you can go ahead and pop onto this Koha demo and give it a shot. The demo site is reset every 6 hours, so any changes that you make will not be there after 6 hours. So that's always a good news. Okay, the biggest question that most people have is, when are we going to get upgraded? So we are planning on upgrading our partners in November. Per usual, Larry will be adding a little red box on the main page of your staff client about a week prior, where he'll tell you the dates that you're going to go to the new version. All you have to remember is to clear your cache that next morning when you arrive to make sure everything's up in working order. Okay, now let's get on to the technical services section. Okay, perfect. Great. Okay. We did talk about a few of these during the What's New, so thank you everyone for coming to that. And we are going to talk about some other new features that we weren't able to get to. There are, oh my goodness, I can't remember the number. There are like 12 new features, 246 enhancements, and 360 bug fixes with the 1805. So we're not going to be able to cover them all. And that's why I do like to refer you over to that release notes, as well as the Koha community page if you wanted some more details, or to be able to access the bugs that these come from. Okay. Without further ado, I'm going to start in our favorite module, acquisitions. I know it's Donna's favorite module. There is now the ability to configure the fields on the catalog details in the acquisitions module when you're in a basket. Now, for any libraries that is using the acquisition module, when you create a basket and want to add a new empty record, and also your purchase suggestions, there is the ability to define and determine what catalog details you wanted to enter for this specific item. So let me go ahead and add something to a basket. So here I am at add order to a basket. If I choose this from a new empty record, I'm actually going to get a form that's called catalog details. So it's right here. Prior to 1805, it was a hard-coded set of values here. You could put an ISBN, you could put the title, author, maybe a date in this form itself. Now you have the ability to define what fields are going to display here in the catalog detail form. And you ask me, how do I do this? Because this is fabulous. This is set up through frameworks. This is going to work hand in hand with the acquisition framework. So first, we, of course, have a system preference that is involved in this. So if we wanted to customize this catalog detail page, we would first need to go into our system preferences. I'm going to open it in a new tab so we can stay over here. And this is a new system preference. I should have known how many new system preferences we have. And we are removing a system preference, so, with a lot and then one less, that still means a lot. The system preference is called Use ACK Framework for Bibliorecords. So this has a use or do not use the framework ACK for bibliographic record fields. So first you have to set this system preference, and then you need to set your acquisition framework to what you'd like it to look like. So we're going to go over to our frameworks, another favorite area of Donna's. Wouldn't you say, Donna? And I'm going to go into Mark Bibliographic Framework. Here I have a framework call to ACK under here, and I'm going to go ahead and show you the mark structure that I have set up, which is going to mimic what I have in my catalog details page. Oh, good. Donna's saying she loves those frameworks. So you can see what I have here. I have my 020, my 022, 100, 245, 250, 260, 440, 590, 952. When I go over here, that's exactly what I have here. Now, if I wanted any of these catalog details mandatory, like my 245, I again would set that up in my acquisition framework. Now, 440 needs to change to 490. Yep. Vicki let me know that 440 needs to change to 490 because 440 is obsolete. I forgot I'm talking to my catalogers. I have, when I first read this bug, what did I do? I thought I was being really, really smart, and I went ahead and exported my default framework, and then I imported it into my acquisition framework saying, well, let's have it all. Well, Koha doesn't want you to have it all. So you don't necessarily want all the fields from your default framework to make it into your acquisition framework because it will break. You don't want all that information here under catalog details. There is a Koha wiki page for frameworks that I went ahead and exported this framework that I created that you can go ahead and import into your system on the Koha wiki for frameworks. And I will share that URL with you momentarily as soon as I pull it up. Okay. So in addition to the acquisition framework, I also put a FastAdd framework in there. Just for some libraries, it's good to be able to start with a base, and then you can always add and take away. In Vicki's situation, she would take my acquisition framework and she would get rid of that 440 tag and not have that for her catalog details. But again, this allows you to, when you are just doing some empty records, so maybe there's some special orders or there are books that are your local authors that aren't published or you can't find a record for, or you just needed to put into the catalog but have a little bit more information. I know a lot of our partners and users use the local note field, so the reason that we're purchasing this would be good to have a note on there as well. So this is where you can go ahead, create a framework for an ACK framework or add to that ACK framework that you might already have in your system, or go grab that from the Koha wiki page, and then have this form to be what you'd like it to be, as well as changing that new system preference, use ACK framework for biblio records. Okay, let me find that website for you. A good thing to note, once you have used this ACK framework, excuse me, once you have used this ACK framework and you have placed your order, once you go ahead and receive that order, the bib record will become a default framework. It will not hold on to that acquisition framework past the acquisition process. So that's good to note. It will default to the default framework. Oh, let me go back to that. I'm going to add this URL into the chat box, everybody, and that is where I've put the basic ACK framework as well as a FastAdd framework. There is there's a few others in there as well, an article framework and an RDA framework donated by other users of Koha. Okay. This is a great time to let you know that you have two ways to ask questions. You can ask questions through the webinar chat box, as well as there's a Q&A box. If you, we would prefer the Q&A box because then everyone can see your questions, but if you use the chat, just make sure that it's sent to all attendees and panelists so everyone can see your question. At this point, I think I still try to read the question just in case people haven't noticed the chat box go off. Okay, so that's great. That's really new, good. Okay, the next acquisition enhancement is, I know that this is kind of an important feature, uncertain prices when you are entering orders into your basket. However, this has caused some questions or issues for libraries that aren't sure about this whole uncertain price, and then the fact that there's an uncertain price and hiding the basket. So for some libraries, that's been difficult. So there's just been some clarification in the uncertain price and that close basket button. So I'm going to go ahead and go into one of my baskets. I go ahead and view my basket under in the acquisition. So prior to 1805, you still had this closed basket button clickable, even though you had uncertain prices. So now the closed basket is still visible, but if you hover over it, it will let you know that the reason why the basket can't be closed is because there are uncertain prices. So that's really helpful to know that there is the reason why it can't be closed. So just a little bit more clarification. And I think that this is so helpful to new users of acquisitions, as well as we move forward and create new enhancements, such as uncertain prices from a while ago and how they all work together. Okay. Another acquisition enhancement, which was sponsored by Round Rock, is the ability to map more subfields, such as the subtitle, to acquisition searches. So prior to 1805, if I was adding an item to a basket, and I wanted to order a second copy of something that's in my system, prior to 1805, I could only see the actual 245A, so that just title. I couldn't see any more information past the A. So for items, books that had an A, but they also had a B, such as part of the series, I can always think of like kids' books like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Roderick Rules, or Old School. You wouldn't actually be able to see it. So then you couldn't actually figure out which one you wanted to order. So this now allows for the mapping of more fields in the acquisition search. Oh, let me go back. Vicky is asking about an uncertain price. Goodness gracious me. If you add an item to your basket, Vicky, there is a place that you cannot add. You can say, I'm not sure how much this is going to cost me, and you could click uncertain price, which means later on you're going to have to go ahead and add a price before you can close the basket, because Koha needs to know how much the item is. So let's go ahead and add something to, let me see if I have it set up correctly to do that. As we're talking about the keyword to mapping as well, at the same time, you can see here, as I'm going to answer both questions, or I'm going to talk about both things, prior to the 1805, it would only just show that dork diaries. And prior, so you wouldn't know which dork diaries you were going to order a second copy of, because without seeing the B, you wouldn't know which it was. So once I hit order, I have this area called uncertain price. So if I were to go ahead and say, oh, that's uncertain, and add it to the basket, Koha wouldn't let me close the basket until I made that price in there, and that's what that uncertain price is. Vicki is saying, when I import records from recorded books, even if I manually import the price, I still get uncertain prices. Okay, so if I go ahead and say this is an uncertain price, let's go ahead and do the whole thing. Let's pick a fund. I'm not putting a price here. Okay, I'm going to go to my uncertain prices. Oops. Not showing me anything, but I know I have one. So that I'm going to unclick this one. I think there's at least one in here that was uncertain. That's 2. Let's see. Okay, so now that I have made all my uncertain prices cleared up, I actually have the ability to go ahead and close that basket. So that uncertain price goes away and I'm able to close the basket.
Okay, Kelly, we have a question about the acquisitions framework. So Eric was trying to import it, and it's saying that he has to copy a framework instead. Can you walk through the process adding like a second ACQ framework, perhaps?
I don't know if I'll be able to, but I can certainly go through just adding a framework in general, if that works, because I already have one, so I don't think I'll be able to create the same code. But if I go into export my default framework and import it the way he would be going through, so now I have it as an import. Down here on my desktop, I can see it. And then I go ahead and create a new framework. So I'm going to just make this. Make sure I can type today. And then I go ahead and say, it says framework added successfully. And there is my test framework. So now I'm going to go ahead and import that file that I just exported. What's it called? Export default. All my things popped up. There it is. Open. Import. Are you sure you really want to? And now I have successfully put that file into this new framework. And here it is. Okay, Eric, let's go ahead and possibly create a ticket for that. I'm not sure. It's the same process. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Great. I'm so glad you're working along with me. This is fun. And we'll figure that one out. If there's any questions, please let us know. Okay. So Vicki had uncertain price question, so hopefully I clarified that. We talked about the framework for Eric. I created a new framework so you could see that process of grabbing a CSV and importing it. I'm not sure. Okay, we were talking about the keyword mark mapping. So if anybody has used the keyword to mark mapping before, it is actually found in the administration module, and I'm going to go to this keywords to mark mapping. So you may want to look at what your system is set up for. It may just have that, it may not have any of the fields here. You could always, and you can choose the framework that you want it to work with. So here I'm going to just use it for my default, and I went ahead and added the subtitle field of 245B to the mapping. So therefore, it would actually show in my acquisition search to show that subtitle. You can actually even show the 245N, which is also a number part of the chronology in some records, as well as, oh, look at that, 490, just for Vicky, I used the right one. So the 490V is also another mapping that can be used through this acquisition process. Now, there were, prior to this 1805 release and this development, the 245B and N were seen in other places, such as your holds to pull. You would actually see more information. If you're not, then I would also check this keyword to mark mapping to make sure that this is set up. This tool itself will only affect sites that are not using their own specific SSLT style sheets. So if you're not sure, or if it's not working for you, you may want to see if you have your own XSLT style sheets, which may affect to this. Okay. Any questions about that? Because that was kind of choppy. So I would encourage anyone, if anyone had any questions about the keyword to mark mapping, please let me know. But this will help your acquisitions folks when they are adding items to baskets and they want to see that full 245 B and N when they're placing the order. So that's really helpful. Okay, well, again, please continue to ask questions. This is great. Okay, there are some things that we will talk about in the 1805 updates that you may actually be seeing now on your 1711. Sometimes an enhancement or a bug fix actually gets pushed into a release prior to the major release, depending on the complexity of it and what it works with. So this could be something that you've already noticed, but there now is a column for the invoice number when you're in that acquisition tab in the bib record. So let me go ahead and show you that. So let's go ahead and grab a something from a basket. And I'll show you what I'm alluding to. So if I go ahead and let's go ahead and pull up an item that I've ordered and received. Here in this acquisition detail tab, I will now, if it's been received and it's been assigned an invoice number, I will now have a new column for invoice number, which is also clickable. So this is a great new column that will be super helpful to those acquisitions that would like to be able to get through the invoice number from this acquisition tab. Oh, I got an excited yes. See, some things. Other things, it's like, no, I don't like that. So, or I don't get that. Okay, good. Yes. Okay. This is also a very different one, which I didn't actually know would be something that would even be possible. So I always go, wow, this is really kind of cool. This is a system preference that is not a new system preference, but it didn't work in the acquisition module prior to this. This system preference is called search with ISBN Variations. Anyone familiar with this system preference? So if this is enabled, when searching on an ISBN index, search all variations of ISBN. It's good to know that it has no effect if query parsing is on. Okay, so when I read about it, it talked about that there was this site. Let me pull up this site. And this was in the bug, that you could actually get the variation of the ISBN 10 if you had the ISBN 13. And that's how this was tested, to make sure that if you had placed an order in acquisition and used that ISBN 13 in your order, but then you received the book and it was a 10, or you wanted to search and you only had the ISBN 10, it will now search for that ISBN 10 and find the ISBN 13. Who knew? Who knew there was a website for ISBN converters? Not I. Okay. Oh, I see somebody has raised their hand. You must have known about it. This is crazy. I had no idea. I also think that if we were moving towards 13, good. So it's just me. It's just me. If we are moving towards ISBN 13 numbers, why are we still able to find the 10s? I thought we would progress into that, but that's just me. Okay. So I'm going to go into my acquisition module over here. I'll minimize this for now. I made sure the system preference is turned on. I'm going to go into my acquisitions. Okay. Title, this key. Okay, so you can see here. Obviously, I got a comment that tech services really get into things like standard number converters. I know, look at all the people that got excited. Okay, so you can see here I have an order out there for the book Whiskey in a Teacup. I have some ISBN numbers, but you can see I don't have the 10 listed on the record. So now I'm going to take that handy dandy ISBN converter, so you pop that back up. I'm going to enter that in, and I'm going to get the ISBN 10 version of that number. Grab it all. I'm going to go ahead and copy that. Now, minimize that again. I'm going to search. I'm going to do my advanced search in my acquisitions and search by ISBN with the 10. And there it is. So now, search with ISBN variety or variation, you now can actually find an order in your acquisition module using this search with ISBN variations. Good. Perfect. Let's do this. For all those that didn't raise their hand, I'm going to go ahead and pop that really helpful URL to other tech services, and just in case you didn't know it existed, maybe I was the only one, if you maybe find that handy coming up. Okay, if you can believe it, I'm slowly going into cataloging at this point. I'm pretty sure I'm getting into, yes. Okay. We're going to get out of acquisitions and mosey on into the cataloging, because all those catalogers are here ready for.
Before you go,
yes.
So Kathleen has a question. Does the system preference only affect ISBN searches within the ACQ module, or will it work for general cataloging searches?
It's always worked. It just never worked in acquisitions. So in your other searches, it worked. However, in the acquisitions module, searching by ISBN variation did not work. So this has improved for the acquisitions module itself. Okay. One of the, for cataloging, one of the key enhancements was the ability to add that default ACK framework with that system preference and interchanging that or bringing that in with the acquisitions module. So we already talked about that somewhat. And now we have the ability to allow multiple mappings for your Koha fields. So this is particularly based on that 260, 264 mark fields that so many catalogers would like to be able to have both fields mapped. So this this has a couple of a step process for you to be able to utilize this. So the purpose of this enhancement is to map those mark fields to a single Koha field. So to take your value in the 260 and your 264. The first mapped field will be saved in the database, but this does allow for some flexibility in libraries using the RDA and AACR2, because sometimes we have publication data stored in the 264 and not in the 260, and vice versa. The emphasis on this change in mapping, or this ability to multi-map, will be not really seen on searching, but it will definitely benefit in the reports module. So this will allow you, when you run your reports, to be able to see this. Now, if you are wanting to go ahead and update your Koha to mark mapping, you would need to go into your Koha to mark mapping in your administration module, and you're going to go to your biblio.copyright date and then add here. I'm going to go ahead and do my 264, C, subfield. C, maybe. Control fields that, C. Oh, there it goes. Like, did I add it? Okay, so now I have both the 260 and the 264 here in my Koha to mark mapping. Now, the next step you would need to do is that you would need to let us know at Bywater to submit a ticket, because we will need to run a script on your database that will touch all the bibs in your system. This script will find if the copyright date is null and update those bibs without a 260 but having a 264. So it will go ahead and touch all those bibs. So there is a little bit of a database change that needs to happen. We've already talked to the support team, and they know that this could be something that you would be asking for. The script will take a long time if your site is very large. So we would probably run this overnight. And again, this will definitely help with your reports module to be able to have that 264 copyright date in addition to 260. So again, you would update this on your staff client, and then you would submit a ticket that you would like us to run that script on the back end.
So Heather is really digging all these things you're telling her about, Kelly. You're making her day.
Oh, good. If you want more details, this is a very, very intense bug to read through. I definitely asked for Joy's help when I read through it to make sure I was going to tell everybody the right thing, and she discovered that we would need to run a script. So I put the bug in channel, and if you have any questions, please feel free to submit a ticket. We know that there is some work that we'll have to do on your site after you accomplish this new mapping. Perfect. Okay, I think Heather already saw this, but she could probably still be really excited. There is now the ability to configure default indicators in your framework. I will not repeat what Andrew said when he talked about it on Thursday. Oh, I have a question before I... Perfect. So once we are in our default framework, and if we wanted to add a default indicator or indicators to a specific mark field, we can now do that in frameworks. So if I go into, say, my default framework and go into the mark structure, and I wanted to put a default indicator in my 490 mark field, for that series information, I can see my 490. If I go ahead, oh, I already have it there. If I go to my actions and not go to my subfields, but go to my edit, I would be able to go ahead and add a default indicator in the first value or the second value or both. And then when I use this framework, that default indicator will appear. Heather can't wait. So this is great for all those catalogers out there that are using the basic editor and want to be able to have the default indicators for their records. So yay. Okay. I don't know. There's so many things that I say I'm not sure about, but this is one I'm not sure about. So there has been a little display change in the item fields. So if I go into a bib record and go to the items part of it, let's see if anyone notices the change. Oh, it didn't change there. Wait. Oh, it did change. Okay. Prior to, sorry, I was thinking it was the other way around. Prior to 1805, all your lines here were left justified, and now they're center justified. So they're more closer to this versus being way over and having to follow a line. So just a little display. I don't know if people are going to like that or not. I liked it way over. I think I'm more of a left justified person. Yes. Good. See? Oh, good. We like it. Good. I'm glad to hear that. I thought it was a little, but I can understand following the line, and perfect. Yay. So it's just me. I'm the one. Okay, so there's that. That's a beautiful display change for for the catalogers out there. And this is when I'm going to get onto my soapbox and say, if you want to change, go into the bugs and make a change. Go in there and say what you want, because things like this maybe's bothered you since you started with Koha. And look, it's changed because somebody said, I'd like this to be center or right justified versus left justified. So Koha community is working for you. Okay. This is just a little one that I really don't have anything to show, but you know that Koha has logs, and there is a cataloging log. Now, prior to 1805, we strongly urged you not to use the cataloging log or turn on the cataloging log, because in addition to logging the cataloging, it was also logging circulation data and causing it to really fill up. So now with 1805, they have stopped that circulation to be populating in the log as well as the cataloging. And now you have the ability, if you want, to turn on the cataloging log, and it will be less spammy, as George said. So yes, now it will not spam the log with circulation. It will strictly stick to cataloging. Your logs are found in the administration module under logs. You can view the logs from the tools, but I probably should show you where to turn them on. So here under logging. It should not affect performance because it is going to be a lot less of logging when you take out circulation, according to this bug. I know, this is great because I think a lot of libraries would like to use the cataloging log. Yes, the label needs to be changed. Let's make a note of that. Okay, perfect. Oh, I do have one more display. I've totally almost forgot. Cataloging log. Okay. When I'm using the Z39.50, this is so exciting. Yes, cataloging log will help a lot of libraries. Let's think of a book. Is there an eye there? No, there's an eye there. Let's just do Laura Ingalls Wilder. Let's not try to spell. It's like me typing in Harry Potter, it looks like. There we go. Instead of the 3 columns of mark, ISBD, and import, you now have an action button that will allow you to choose any of those, still the same 3 options you had. Instead of columns, you now actually have it under the action button. And instead of that subtle gray look of which record you're actually looking at, it's a bold yellow, which will definitely help people, because I don't think a lot of people realize that the gray indicated which one you were in. Now, as I look at it, they all look like white and gray and white and gray and white and gray. But yes, this completely changes the look of the Z39.50 for the better, I think. And it will be helpful for everybody to have this drop-down menu versus those columns. Okay. George does not like this because he has to click actions and then this. Will this also apply? I have a question from Barbara. Will this also apply when using the Z39.50 from the cataloging editor? Are you talking about the advanced cataloging, Barbara? I don't know. I'm going to have to check it out if that's what you're, yes, advanced. Okay. Let me, well, then we might as well pop over to, I'm going to go over to my Firefox browser as I learned from Heather watching that advanced editor town hall. I need to use 2 browsers so I don't have my advanced editor pop up when I don't want it to. Okay, so let's go ahead and try it. And we also have things to talk about in advanced editing also, so this is good. I have to probably log out of Howard and log in with somebody else. Okay, so let's go to my cataloging module, go into my advanced editor. Did I not get any? Let's try title. I don't think I've used my Z39.50 with my advanced editor for a while, but I would think I would have it. So is this different, Barbara? I don't think it is. I think this is the same. Let's see, view. It's not highlighting anything. Okay. There is also a few advanced editor features that have been updated in 1805. There is now the shortcut for copyright symbols. If I go to my keyboard shortcuts, it shows me Alt-C for the copyright symbol and Alt-P for my copyright symbol for sound recordings. So that is new. You also have the ability to go into your authority searching from your advanced editor. That shortcut is also, I think, in the shortcuts Control-Shift-L, which will link you into authorities. So let's go ahead and do that. I don't think it matters where I do it. On my Mac, it's different. So let me just read where I said Control-Shift-L. Maybe that's it. It popped up over here. So now I have the ability to look into my authorities from the advanced editor, which I know wasn't there prior. So that's great. There is a lot of bugs out there to make the advanced editor better. And with every update, I feel like they're slowly getting in there. So keep up the enhancement requests to make this the best for everybody involved that use it. The last advanced editor feature that has been updated is if I went ahead and went to a different area. Oops. Can I go back? Probably not. Okay, let's do this. Kelly's Adventure. And then I went ahead and went to go create a new record. It will actually give me a warning if I leave the page and there's unsaved modifications. So I guess I hadn't realized that this was an issue. So now you actually get an alert telling you haven't saved it yet. So that's good. That's really good. Lastly, for probably nobody who really it matters to at this point, prior to 1711, since I want to say Koha 3.22, the advanced editor system preference was lying in the lab section of our system preferences. It has now been moved out and is now in the cataloging section of our system preferences. Before it was under labs and it said it was experimental. It's been experimental for like, I guess, 322, was that 4 years ago? So that's pretty, it's a good change into our system preferences. Okay, I'm going to pop over to the serials because we do have a few things in our serials that I'd like to show you. The first being that we have the ability to batch renew subscriptions. So if I go into my serials module, and then I want to check and I want to find all my subscriptions that are going to expire soon and batch renew them, I'm going to have to look at like what's going to expire before the 2025 because I've done this so many times. I've played with this so much. See, 2021, 2022. Okay, so if I wanted to renew all my 2021 years, 2021, I have this option now to renew my selected subscriptions. And now they're renewed. So that will actually renew per what I have set up in the actual subscription to renew it. So it looks like most of these renewed for another year to 2022. So it allows for those subscriptions that we seem to always get, or those expiry notices we always seem to get at the same time. We can now go ahead and update those all at the same time or renew those. So that's really great. Okay. Also, now we have the ability to set the received date to today on multi-receiving serials. So if we were going to go ahead and receive more than one, we now can set the receive date to today when we're doing that process. So if we go to, let me go to my serials, go to one of my subscriptions, and I'm going to go to my serial collection button over on the left. This is going to show me all my subscriptions that have yet to be received. So I want to go ahead and let's select them all. Go ahead and edit those. And now if I wanted to make them arrived, this date itself is now changed to today's date. And I can do that on all the ones when I multi-receive them. So that's a really good enhancement because I know sometimes these serials stack up on us and we have to get them all out there. But as we saw in the OPAC module and also our What's New is the publication date will now appear on the OPAC to your users. So they will see the receive date and the publish date. And I think the publish date is more important to most users. And if you wanted to, you could hide that receive date, which is in the column configuration under planned date is received date. Okay, so let's go back to my serials. I also have batch serial subscription batch editing. So I could go ahead and batch edit a bunch of subscriptions that my library has. Now I was going through this module, I think the first time, my What's New, and I got to a software error. So I have created a bug. It's a very simple fix. I think there's already a patch in place. So hopefully by the time you get the 1805, it will be fixed. But this allows me to, if I were to choose a few subscriptions and edit them, batch edit them. So I'm going to look at my subscriptions, click the ones that I wanted to edit. So maybe I'm moving a section of my subscriptions out of a certain area into another area in my library. I'm going to go ahead and hit my edit selected serials. You can see which fields that I have the ability to batch edit. So I have my vendor, location, library, item type. If I wanted to add a note or a public note, I can do that. Say I want to make them all East Branch. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Good, it worked. So now I've batch edited all those subscriptions to say that they're in my East Branch instead of my main or my North. So just another great way to make our time more efficient. Okay, lastly, if you do use that routing list notice within serials, I want to say I have one set up in my People magazine. So I have a patron notification. I have a routing list attached and a patron notification set up. Prior to the 1805, this notice was called R list, and it has been updated to be called serial_alert. So a little bit clearer to Koha users to what it actually does. It alerts patrons when the serial has become available that they're looking for. So that is one renamed notice that is set up for that technical services, for your technical services module. I did have one more system preference that I wanted to talk about, and all I'm going to say is in the bug release notes, Nick, one of our developers at Bywater, mentions called authority controlled indicators. And I know there are a lot of people in the Zoom today that know a lot more about authority controlled indicators than I will ever know, because you're all catalogers. So there is this new system preference, and the one of the developers, Nick, said when they were talking through this bug is maybe we should put a note, don't touch this unless you know what you're doing. So I did talk to Nick today to ask him about this and to give me a little heads up, and he said, again, don't let anyone touch this unless they know what they're doing. This is the default. This is exactly how most libraries will want their authority controlled indicators to work. But if you do want to adjust this, do so at your own risk. Or put in a ticket and say, I want to talk to somebody, not Kelly, about this, because I really don't know much more than what I read and put notes and talk to Nick. But it is a new system preference. So that's bringing us our total of, I'm going to guess 711. Somebody told me there was 690, and I feel like we just got 25 more new ones. So, and we did lose one. Are there any questions in regards to the technical services portion of the upgrade webinars, about anything that I talked about during this, or anything you had heard about? Is this mic still on? Oh, we lost the system preference. I got asked which system preference we got lost. Give me 1 second, I will find it for you. I want to say it's called check digit.
Yes, that's it.
Okay, it's called check digit, and it's part of the the setup of barcodes for libraries. And upon research, there are not maybe more than 2 libraries that we know of that use this system preference. And it's called, let me pull it up here. I don't think there's much more that it's like an older way of doing barcodes. Oh, it's not even going to show up.
Yeah, it's called check digit, and basically your option was whether you do or don't check and construct the borrower card numbers in the Katipo style. This overrides auto mem num if on.
There you go.
So there you go.
If anyone knows you're using that, I think we only figured out there were 2 partners using that. And there was not going to be any kind of change if it stopped being used. Yes, that's a very old preference. Yes, validating barcodes would be nice. Are there any other questions? Again, this will be recorded and put up, so if any of your colleagues was unable to watch it and you said to them, oh, you have to watch Kelly because she's such a hoot, please do so, pass on the word. And if not, I don't think I'm doing the next tech services. Somebody else is, and you could be like, don't watch Kelly. Go watch. Is it you, Donna, that's doing tech services, or Andrew?
I'm looking. I'm hoping it's not me, but I have a feeling it is.
Well, we know how Andrew feels about catalogers. Oh, thank you, Heather. We know how Andrew feels about catalogers. He didn't even like the defaults. He didn't even want to talk about default indicators.
Okay, so it actually is Andrew, and the next one is on Monday, October 22nd, so that one should be a hoot.
Yeah, Andrew is a hoot. And talking cataloging. Okay, well, I appreciate everyone's time. I hope that this was helpful and informative, and you're all excited about 1805, and you join me again in one of the next various webinars coming up in this week and next.